Hi, Jordan. Thank you so much for joining us again for our podcast. Share Your Blueprint.
Thank you for having me again.
So, a little like background information.
Mhm.
It's my daughter's birthday today, and she was very loud.
Happy
So, we
birthday.
had to move locations, but that's okay. That's part of life. And also, happy birthday, Josephine. So, Jordan, can you tell us a little bit about the origins of Pink's Bar and why you decided to launch this business?
Yes. So I honestly got the idea. I didn't even know that like mobile bartending and all of that was a thing. Until I was bartending and algorithms and things, when you start following things and learning things, all the things start popping up on your timeline, Instagram and TikTok. So I was just scrolling one day and I'm seeing a bunch of like content about drinks and, different bars in the area and all of that. And I stumbled across a mobile bartender and I was like, what is that? Like, I've never even heard of that. Um, and just kept scrolling, kept learning, and that kind of like at least it planted the seed in my head. I just kind of kept scrolling, kept going to work, doing what I was doing. But it was always in the back of my head. And one day I was bartending, it was a long shift, I was really tired, and I was like, I could do this for myself. You know? Like I can do this. I love doing this, but I love working for myself, on my own terms. And so that seed that had been planted, so long ago popped back up and it was like mobile bartending, private bartending, do that. And it was so funny too, because when I was telling my mom about it, she was like, I used to do that. And I was like, what do
Oh,
you mean? Like, when did you do this? And she was like, when you were younger, my mom was a single mom, raised me and my sister. And so at one point she went to bartending school, and part of it was they placed you at different, like, either restaurants, bars, whatever, to bartend. And she had decided to go like more the private route. So they had like a private bartending company as well. And so she was like, yeah, I used to do private events and corporate events like through this company. And I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I want to do. Like, different names, different terms, but it was all the same thing. And she was like, yeah, it was great. I had so much fun. And it all came back to me. I remember like she would come home and we would like help her count her tips. And we thought it was like so cool, right? And I was like, oh my God, you did do that. And she was like, yeah, girl. So that kind of like got the ball rolling. And I was like, this is what I want to do. And how Pink's, the name, kind of came into fruition was honestly just a random girls' night. I was like pitching them this idea. And I was like, I want something cute and like flirty and fun. And we were just talking, and then somehow Pinks popped up, and I was like, well, and I'm a Delta. So I was like, well, it's got to be Pinks with a Y. It can't be Pinks with an I. And they were like, even better. And so I was like, okay, this is it. This is what we're doing. And that's kind of how Pink started, just Instagram, family, and friends.
now, before we were talking, and that's such an interesting story about your mom,
Hmm.
how those roots really sort of took hold in you about like entrepreneurship and
Um,
fun, and also knowing how to manage your money. I guess
mhm.
one of the things I'm curious about with Pinks is the business of being a bartender. Can you walk me through that? Do you need to have training? Is there licenses involved? What does that look like?
Yes. So I think a big part of why kind of mobile bartending has become so popular is that you don't necessarily need a whole lot of training. I do definitely recommend at least having bartended before and having like some experience and idea of what it means to be a bartender and what like all of that entails. But like a certain amount of experience or like time, I don't really think is necessary. People always ask me all the time, like, do you need to go to school to be a bartender? I never went to school. I learned on the job, and that has always been fine anywhere I've gone. What I can say though is going to school does help you get placed places. Just like with my mom, like a lot of bartending schools will help you find a job once you finish, right? So there's benefit to that. Do you need it? No. And then going back, mobile bartending is I think a more popular choice because you don't need a liquor license. I
Mhm.
don't supply any alcohol. I can do the measurements for you and give you a shopping list and kind of like help you figure out how much alcohol you need, but I don't do any purchasing and supplying of alcohol. So therefore, I don't need a liquor license. Um, you do have to be certified. So definitely getting like tip certified so you are understanding of the laws and alcohol safety. And then also having insurance. And so business is insured. And that's just good practice to have. A lot of times, different, depending on where you're going, like if a certain venue will require you to have insurance, but even if it doesn't, it's just good to have just to kind of protect yourself, right? And those are really kind of the only things that you need to get started, at least like legally. And then obviously like an LLC or something like that to like, make your business legit. So LLC, certification, insurance. Those are kind of like the things that you need. Um, and then yeah, outside of that, it's just marketing and getting yourself out there. Right. Um, so that's kind of how you can do all of that. And it does provide you a lot of flexibility. I still work full time and I do this, on weekends or, whenever throughout the week when I can. I book accordingly, what works with my schedule. So it's very flexible, very fluid.
I want to go back to like your mother again.
Mhm.
What was that process like first getting started? Did she have any assistance for you? Any tips that could help you sort of break through those first tough days?
So, yes and no. I think when I started, what she was doing was very, I won't say different because it's essentially the same thing, but she went through a company that had already been established. So for her, she was looking at me like, you're starting a business, like you're doing private bartending, like what does that even mean? Like, yes, like I did it, but like it was kind of different and like I wasn't in charge of anything, like I just showed up. So she was like, so what exactly is it that you're doing? And then also, of course, this is me deciding to start a business after literally just leaving law school. And so she was like, "You're supposed to be a lawyer. Like, what is happening right now?" So, tips and tricks, I mean, she just kind of like shared her experience more in depth when she was bartending, but outside of that, she was like, "I'm lost, but I support you and you do what you need to do." So a lot of it was just um looking at different businesses and companies that are already doing this. I will say that it was kind of hard to figure out how to get this started. There is not a lot of information out on how to do this. I found some manuals, kind of like people were selling manuals and like how they got started. So like little booklets on like what to do, where to start, so on and so forth. But I had to really search and find those things. And of course, like I said, they're selling these things. So I had to buy these books and buy these templates and things like that. So um there isn't a whole lot of like free information, I guess you could say. So it's just a lot of like trial and error and just really researching and figuring out whose advice was actually good advice and um, which way made sense for me because everyone's business model is different too. Everyone's audience is different. So it took a while. It took a while definitely to figure out how this was going to come into fruition and still learning, still you know, making edits and trying to improve and so on and so forth. Yeah.
As we discussed in the prior conversation, you did a lot of your first starts during the pandemic.
Mhm.
What was that process like? Were you afraid to begin during the pandemic? Was there health concerns? How did that sort of matriculate?
Yeah, so well, that was I originally from Houston. And so I did not born and raised in Houston, never left Houston, never lived anywhere until I moved for law school. So at this point, I'm graduated in Texas, pandemic in Texas, and we know how Texas rolls, right? So there weren't a lot of restrictions in place when it came to the pandemic like there should have been. So getting a job in the service industry, interacting with people every day was actually not hard. Um, the restaurant had just opened up. It was closed for a period of time and they were only doing to go. But when I applied, like the fall-ish, it was like September, October, they were beginning to open back up. Now I definitely took my own precautions and I wore masks, sometimes doubled up, often wore gloves, washed my hands constantly, um, which was shockingly not required of us to do. But I definitely took those precautions for myself because I, one, did not want to get sick and I did not want to get anyone else sick because that was just a crazy time. Um, so it was strange, definitely being in the industry at a time where people are still coming in and going, not everyone was wearing masks. So that was interesting, but it definitely has continued into like how I serve and like the precautions that I still take. Because also like I'm dealing with things that are literally going into people's mouths, you know? So like I need to make sure that I'm being safe so that way I don't get anyone else sick or, what have you. So it was a weird time. I think anyone living in Texas during the pandemic will probably agree that it was like the twilight zone a little bit.
Mm.
Um, but I definitely took the precautions that I needed to and continue still. Yeah.
And we thank you for
Yeah, yeah,
it.
right. Like this is not something to play with. So yeah, it was strange.
I feel though, like through the process of starting and loving being part of the events, the action, and having a bartending background serves you so well with Pink's Mobile Bar. Can you walk me through a day in the life of an event for you and how you so prepare for that?
Yeah, so preparing for events is well in advance of the day of the event. To start, is speaking with the client to get an understanding of what type of event it is, all the logistics of the event, load in, load out, time of the event, all of that, right? I really try to fully understand the event because I like to prepare the menu based upon the event. So I love a theme. I love a theme. So I always love to make the menu, based on the theme and make it cute and fun. Um and so just fully understanding the event so that I can also make the menu and the bar itself match. Um, and then it goes into prep of ingredients. So creating a shopping list, which again involves a lot of math. So figuring out, how much of what I need, prepping as much as I can the drinks. So I like to try to batch some of the cocktails, just the juice part, as much as possible. That way, at least in the first half of service, I'm not like scrambling trying to make drinks. Um, and so that helps with ease of service. And then it's going through all the tools and things that I need. So table setup, garnish tray, cups and napkins and tools. So like on my shakers, my um jiggers and all of those things, coolers, ice. all of that. So packing up, making sure that I have all of that packed up before the event, packing it all up in the car the day of the event, getting all of that, setting up for the event, and then serving, breaking it all down, and heading back. So it is a lot of prep work. Sometimes there's a lot of admin, but it's also scheduling. So depending on the size of the event, who do I need to schedule to assist me with the event? Depending on the size, I might need two, three bartenders, a bar back, which a bar back is someone that's helping with all the prep essentially. So while I'm serving, they're refilling and setting things up kind of. Um, so scheduling all of that.
I
And
guess
then
how do you blend those things then between the business side of scheduling the event itself, making sure that all those logistic things are happening, and also managing the bar and making sure that the drinks come out how you want to, and then also being part of the fun and making sure that people feel engaged and seen. I feel like those like three different jobs happening all at the same time, and we only see the one or two.
right, yeah. It is all about preparation and getting help. A big like I would not be able to do this without help, without my partner, um, without my friends. Like I need help. Someone has to like I can't do all of those things by myself, at least not day of. I do a lot of it, a lot of the prep work, a lot of the recipe tasting. I always taste things before it goes into final batching. So I do a lot of that myself. Day of though, I do need assistance. And I would not be able to do any of that. Be able to be engaged and set up and bartend and provide good service without help. Which is very hard for me as someone who like is very independent and likes to do everything herself. It is very hard to ask for help. I think especially as a business owner who's created this thing and it's like my baby, I don't it's hard for me to relinquish and allow people to help me with my baby. Um and so but it's not possible without it. So that is truly how I am able to do it all. And passion. I just love doing it. It's fun. The what is that saying? Find something you love and you'll never work a day. It doesn't ever feel like work.
I was going to ask you about that because when I met you at the sweater weather event, it was starting to rain. It was a lot of different people there outside. There were bees.
Yeah.
There was a lot happening, but it never seemed to impact your performance and also your energy and the staff's energy too. So I guess there's a certain unpredictability about what's going to happen. As you're a business person, like just the sharing your blueprint idea, how do you manage the unpredictability of events or the business?
It goes back to prep as well. You truly have to think about all the different scenarios, occasions, and things that might happen, before you get to the event. Um, and I think a lot of it comes from bartending, in real life. All kinds of crazy things happen when you're behind a bar. I mean, I've seen so many things, right? And so it's just making sure that one, you're prepared. Because I've also bartended events like at a restaurant and things like that. So it's making sure that I have everything that I need to bartend properly, but also being adaptable and dynamic. So, like I said, crazy things happen all the time. I've seen crazy things happen, and you have to think very quick on your feet. And so that's a big part of it too. Things change, things don't always go according to plan, but you have to be adaptable, be able to adjust, and then learn. After every event that I do, I sit down and I think about everything that went wrong and everything that went right with the event. And then I make adjustments accordingly. And so that way next time I'm even more prepared. And maybe I've encountered a different situation that I wasn't expecting, and now I know how to prepare for that. So preparation, adaptability, and being open to change and critiques.
Mm,
For sure.
mm.
That is how you're able to roll with the punches.
Before I let you go, because I know we've been talking for a good minute, you mentioned about rolling with the punches and adapting. Can you
Mhm.
walk me through that process or that feeling you had when you decided that law school wasn't for you, and now you're going to unenroll and take on a new journey?
Yeah. So, yeah, all of this started by leaving law school. And deciding to leave law school, I left in my second year. Was a really hard decision to make because up until that point, I everything about my life had been planned. I got my bachelor's in business. I did several political science based internships. I and then I was going to go to law school. I took the year off to save and to learn and to prep for law school, and then I went. And I moved across the country by myself to do that. Like all of my family is back in Texas, right? So I moved to this whole new place to go to law school. And then I get to law school and I'm like, I don't think this is for me. My grandfather was a lawyer and a judge, very prominent lawyer and judge in Beaumont, Texas. Second Black man to graduate from University of Houston's Law Center, first Black judge in the county. So I was trying to follow in his footsteps and honor him in that way. And I got there and I realized this wasn't my dream. This isn't what I wanted for me. And at that point he had passed. But I also believe that I don't think he would have wanted that for me too. At the end of the day, he just wanted me to be happy. And he didn't care whether I followed in his footsteps or not. And so that's when I was like, okay, it's kind of time for me to bow out. I don't want to wake up every single day and hate my job and hate my life. And that's what it would have been. And so I decided to leave. At that point, I had been with my partner for like a year and a half. So I wasn't going to go back to Texas. Um, but I had to figure out what I was going to do while I was here. And so that's how I ended up back at bartending because it's what I knew and it's what I loved and it's what I enjoyed. And so as I'm doing that, again, my passion is growing. And in the back of my mind, even as a kid, I always knew I wanted to be in control and own something. Every phase of my life, every hobby that I got into, I saw myself as the owner of that thing. So I
Mm,
went through a cooking phase. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna be the owner of a restaurant. I went through a baking phase. Oh, I'm gonna be owner of a bakery. It was always like being the owner, being in control. So now I'm bartending and I'm like, well, I want to own my own bar. Like, that's what I want to do. I love this. This is so much fun, but like I want to be in control of my schedule and my life and all of those things. And so making that adjustment was really, really hard. And truly just had to step out on faith. But I think it was absolutely necessary. And it's kind of what I want to leave here today with is when you know what's right for you, whether it makes sense or not, you just have to do it. You just have to do it. You don't have to have all the steps figured out and the whole plan ironed out. But if you know you are passionate about something, you are driven by something, you enjoy that thing, and it's going to make you happy, do it. You have to do it. You owe yourself to do it. Because if I had not done it, I would be a lawyer right now, like hating my life, you know? But instead, I'm owning something, doing something that I love and that I'm able to share with so many people. And also, as soon as it got started, it just started rolling, you know? And I've been able to grow so much so fast. And that was not happening with law school. I was struggling. So it's like, like the door, as soon as I went through this door, everything opened up wide, where I was constantly fighting myself and just the curriculum and everything in law school. So it was like, it was meant to be. And I do feel that that is the case will be the case for everyone who follows their dreams and foot and like their path. Doors will open for you. It'll be right for you.
Well, speaking of that, that's a word. I feel like the more I have these conversations, people speak life into to following dreams,
Yes.
um, being who they truly are, and persevering with passion.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. You have to. You only get this one life. I always say, like, this is everyone's first time living, you know? And this is your first and last time. You might as well live to the fullest. Do what you love. Persist with passion, exactly like you said. Go for it. And if you fail, you fail. Try again, you know?
Hmm. Speaking of trying something again and again, I was curious to know about how you mix your flavors. Because I understand you're a
Ooh.
mixologist too. So what goes into that?
Mixing flavors is honestly just tasting. I mean, again, being a bartender, you learn the like basis of cocktails, which I think is also really important when you go into this business. You learn the basis of like what a margarita is and like what flavor profiles match, right? So you kind of start learning drink cocktail, like just cocktail making and what ingredients match and go together, right? And so then I just took that into for my own self. Um, and yeah, you just play. You just play with a bunch of different flavors and a bunch of different ideas. Again, like I said, I like to base it on um the event, or the season. So like for sweater weather, everything was fall themed. But in within fall, there's tart, there's sweet, there's, savory, there's cinnamon, there's apple, there's, spice. So it's playing with all of those different flavors. Um, so it's that's where mixology and it, all comes into play. Learning the basis of cocktails, just what goes well together, and then playing with all of those different things. There's no right or wrong way. I've made disgusting drinks, like it's trial and error. I've made things and I was like, oh, this is terrible, and so you just scrap it and you're like, okay, let me adjust this part, or let me add this here, or so on and so forth. And then you get to the lavender lemonade of things that is like a hit at every event, So it's trial and error, but it's
Okay.
fun. Have fun with it.
Well, I have two more questions before I let you go. Um, First is, how would you compare, I guess, the palates of people in Texas, in Houston, Texas, versus the greater DMV area? Do you see there's any difference between those two?
Palettes as far as like how they like their drinks and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, Not really. There isn't a huge difference. I will say that we do love our sugar and sweet tea and things like that in the South. That is very much a real thing. Um, but outside of that, I would say it's pretty much the same. I haven't quite figured out how to work Old Bay into a drink, but I'm sure I'll figure it out because y'all love y'all's Old Bay up here. So I will somehow figure that out. But I would say those are like the two biggest differences. We like our stuff really, 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 really sweet down in the South. And y'all love y'all's Obey up here, but I would say it's about the same. Everyone just loves a good, well-balanced drink, whether it is sweet or tart or sour, everyone just wants it well balanced. And that's the key in just drink making altogether, whether you're in the DMV or you're in the South or you're on the East Coast, West Coast, just making sure that it's balanced and all the flavors that you're using are there. That's the biggest thing too. A lot of people are, and it's one of my biggest pet peeves, is if I look at something on the menu and you say, it's peach, cherry, lime, all of these things in the drink, I expect to taste all of those things, right? Like that's what drew me to the drink. So making sure that all the ingredients that you say are in there, people can taste. whether it's in the beginning or the middle or on the back end, at least make it sure that it's somewhere. So yeah. No real big difference.
That's surprising, but okay. Okay, because I
Mhm.
know like I lived in the South for a while, and I know there's a mid South, there's a deep South.
Very true. Yeah. I
And
will say, well, there's one difference. One, I know I can at least say in Texas, we love a margarita. Love a margarita. Now, I will say the cocktails, I guess, choices are a little different. Maybe not flavor profiles, but margaritas in the South, you're not going anywhere and a margarita's not on the menu. If not, several margaritas are on the menu. Up here, I do see it's more like true cocktails. Some more like martinis and old fashions and like it's more variety of cocktails here. Um, and we do like our things strong. Moonshine is a thing. Moonshine is a thing, and if people can work it into a cocktail, they will. That is a thing. So we like our things strong in the South. For sure.
that's fair.
Yeah.
I would say, lastly, for community, so much of what you do involves working with the public, going to
Mhm.
different events, going to different parts of Maryland, different parts of PG County, or Moco, even Washington, D.C., and um, Arlington, Virginia. Well, I just described the DMV, but what's it like knowing that you're a part of these communities and how have people connected to you with these events? Have you been able to find other like-minded people in the space?
Oh, for sure. Working like Sweater Weather, Social, Focus Tribe, and Where the Wine Things Are. They're the ones that put that event together, and the women behind those organizations and social media platforms were so amazing and so nice and so, inviting and welcoming into that space. So we're so excited, which made me excited to be there. And while there, I was able to meet other vendors and things like that. And they were so nice and welcoming. And they were like, oh, we'll let you know when, we're at other events. I'll let you know when things are, coming up and we'll send you all of that information so you can join us. And it was so welcoming. For that event specifically, I knew that it was a wine and whiskey or brandy kind of based event and me doing mocktails. I curated my menu for their drinks, for their wine and the brandy. And it was so nice. Like I was, going and talking to all of them, and they were like, "Oh, well, we'll come over and we'll taste and see what exactly matches with our wine." So, Flagler Winery, she came over and she was like, "Oh, this is gonna go great with my white wine, and this goes great with my rosé." And I was like, "Perfect." And so then that's how I, advertise it to people who were coming to my booth. I was like, "Oh, if you love this, go over there and get her white wine. It's gonna go great together." So it was so much collaboration and community, and I've found that to kind of be true everywhere you go. And I was nervous. Again, just kind of getting started with vending and doing all of this. And so I was like, I don't know, is this going to be competitive? Are they going to be like, oh, don't go over there or like what have you? But no, it was so nice. Everyone was so welcoming. And there was so much community in it. I do want to note because I know previously one of your other questions was like how to do events and like how to do this. One thing you do also have to be mindful of is when you are traversing around the DMV that there are different rules and permits that you need to be able to go to like DC or Virginia and Maryland. So also just be mindful of that too. The basis you need LLC certificate, like tip certification and insurance, but other places might require, temporary food permits or, event permit to be able to like take part in things because um my LLC, I'm Maryland based, right? So if I want to cross the border into DC, I need additional permits and things like that. But I just want to mention that for anyone wondering or like interested. But as far as traversing and going to different events, so welcoming, so much love, so much community, which has been so inspiring. to just want to keep going.
And we're happy to see you keep going.
Yes.
Pink's mobile bar, can you tell us where to find you and how can people book you for events and all things like that?
Yes. So everything is at Pink's Mobile Bar. So Instagram at Pink's Mobile Bar, TikTok at Pink's Mobile Bar, email info at Pink's Mobile Bar, website pinksmobilebar.com. To book events, all of my package information is on my website, with the pricing and everything that it includes. If you are interested in booking with me, you just go online. You can book a consultation. It's like a 30-minute consultation where we just go over the event, and make sure that what I'm offering fits what you would like. We go over pricing and all of that as well. Um, and then that's it. We book the event if everyone is on board. And so it's a very easy process. And I often reiterate, I take care of everything from cups, napkins, straws to juice, ice, everything, garnishes, everything in between. Only thing that you have to provide is the alcohol if you so choose. Mocktails are an option, mocktails are included. Um, and that's it. That's all that you have to take care of. And I will even help you create a liquor list. So you don't even have to really worry about that either. Um, so yeah, that's how you can find us. That's how you can work with us. On Instagram, I do always post the different festivals and events I'll be at if you want to come see us at an event. So definitely keep updated with us so you can see that as well.
Thank you so much, Jordan, for your time and sharing your expertise and sharing your blueprint of how to make Pink's Mobile Bar all that it is and will be.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. So thankful that you um, decided to interview me. This is so cool. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Always, always.
Thank you.